YouTube 2K25 is officially out for those who have pre-ordered the game, and one of the things I love most about, when 2K comes out is diving into the top 100 ratings of every single player in the league. So I thought for this video in particular, we would go over the top 100 rankings and see what I think about each rating and stuff like that. I know what you might be thinking, Dehave, this is a NBA channel, not necessarily a 2K channel. A lot of you guys might not care about this stuff, right? I understand where you're coming from, but I do think, there are two reasons I want to cover this. For one, I'm going to actually be streaming 2K over on Twitch very shortly. So, by the time this video comes out, I probably already did my first stream. We're going to be streaming over there very regularly.
And this is exactly who you want taking that shot. You just missed it.
Oh my goodness, that is a full W cook right there. So if you are interested, click the link down in the description to my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/dhave, for regular 2K streams. The second reason, other than my shameless plug right there, is going to be, even if you're just an NBA fan, you don't care about 2K or video games or anything like that, believe it or not, a lot of casual NBA fans actually get a ton of info out of 2K on whether or not a player is good, okay? So, whether or not you think these ratings are important, I certainly don't think they're going to shape my opinion of anybody. I actually watch basketball, but I'm saying there are a ton of people that are casuals, I think, that if they see a player's like a 90 overall or an 80 overall, they'll be like, oh, he's good, right? And so, whether you care about these ratings or not on that level, like whether or not you're going to attribute how good a player is to their 2K rating, which I think is crazy to do, but whether or not you're going to do that, just know that a ton of people do. I did it when I was a kid, when I was playing 2K and I didn't know anything about basketball all those years ago in 2K11. And so if we're really interested in, teaching people about what is important, what makes a good player, we have to start at the bottom, I think, of, where people get their information. I think a lot of it is 2K for a lot of, kids or casuals or whatever. So whether or not you believe it, my point is that, a ton of people do, that these ratings are important. So, I do want to go over them and, in an effort to maybe add a little context to some of these ratings and, see if 2K is doing a good job of informing our casual fans of the NBA. That's what I want to go over in this video. Also, I love 2K and I'm going to be streaming it. So again, follow the Twitch. So we're going to start with the 100 to 91 ratings. Looks like we're already starting in the 80s here. And first we have at 100, Jaden McDaniels. I think that's okay. Him to be rated an 80 overall. I think that's pretty fair. I might boost him a little bit, just simply because of his playoff production last season. He was great in the playoffs. He's a dynamic two-way player, but I think 80 for the most part is fair. Keegan Murray comes in at, 99 for the Sacramento Kings at 80 overall. Another fair rating, I think. Maybe you could boost these guys 1 point higher or so, but I think overall that's pretty good rating. Got a couple centers here coming in at 98 and 97. Derek Lively the second for the Dallas Mavericks, 81 overall. I think that might be just a tad high at this point. I do think personally he's probably, about that range, like 80, 81, 79. But I think if you're going to be super generous, you go 81. I think that's a fair rating, all things considered. I do think by the time the season's over this year, he's going to be boosted up to like an 84. I think he's going to have a monster year, Derek Lively the second. So no question for me, that's, that's an okay rating. Jalen Duren, another young center, for the Detroit Pistons, comes in at 81 as well. I think that's a little bit fair. I do think him and Lively are in a similar tier of center. I think, Duren at 81's fine. Another center, there's a ton of centers here. Like almost all of these players are centers now that I'm looking at it. Nick Claxton, I think, should be a little bit higher. I think he might be more of like an 82, 83 type of player. When we think about Nick Claxton's defense, are we going to say that he's an 81 overall? I'm not so sure. I think Nick Claxton should be about an 84. He's a DPOY candidate for me next season, no question. I think he's a little bit better than the other centers, in this tier. Daniel Gafford is an 81. I think that's a little bit high. I'd probably have him a little bit lower than Derek Lively, but if you want to say he's an 81, I guess so. I think he's, just a tick below some of these other centers here. Nick Vucevic at 81. Listen, I know we had a down year a little bit, but come on, man. Are we going to say that Daniel Gafford is, just as good as Nick Vucevic? I think that's way too low for Vucevic. I'd probably have him at an 84. I think him and Claxton should be higher, both of them around 84. Isaiah Hartenstein, 81. I think that's kind of a fair rating. Maybe you say he's an 80. I think that's pretty fair. Kind of just splitting hairs at this point. Naz Reid in 81, sixth man of the year in 2024, absolutely deserved. 81 is good. And then Miles Bridges at 81 rounds out the 100 to 91. I think that's a fair rating for Miles Bridges. I might have him a little bit higher, maybe 82, 83, something like that, but I think that's kind of fair. So overall, nothing too crazy here in the 100 to 91. My biggest gripes are with Vucevic and Claxton. I think they both deserve to be much higher on this list. And we got Klay Thompson for the picture on 90 to 81. And so we're going to start with D'Angelo Russell here at 81 81 overall. You know, I think that's a pretty good rating for him. Nothing too concerning for me. Devin Vassell could be a little bit higher for me. I think he should be about an 83 personally. I think that, you know, 81's on the lower end of where he should be. I think 83 makes sense for me. Chris Paul, maybe you say he's a little bit less than 81. You know, we're going to say that Devin Vassell is just as good of a player as Chris Paul. I'm not so sure about that, or Nick Vucevic or Nick Claxton. Listen, Chris Paul's still, you know, a very capable playmaker. He's one of the smarter players in the league. He's going to provide a ton of value to the Spurs. I love their pickup of him, the acquisition, but I will say, man, Chris Paul, I'm just not sure he's as good as some of these other players he's next to, including Andrew Nembhard, who I think is actually kind of fair at 81. I think that's a good rating for him. RJ Barrett, same kind of thing. I think, you know, maybe you could say an 82. Nothing too crazy there. Klay Thompson, we think Klay Thompson should be a little bit higher. Let me know down in the comment section. I think this is kind of a weird one for me, because on the lower end of things, if you want to be super uncharitable to Klay Thompson, I think you rate him there. But I think you also could say, you know, realistically, I could totally hear a case that Klay Thompson should be like an 83 or an 84, maybe like an 82 at the lowest, but I think this is a little low for him personally. Brandon Miller, 81. This is another player by the end of the season. He's gonna be an 85 plus for me. Like, he's just so good. He's gonna have a breakout year for me. Austin Reeves, 81, maybe a little bit low. I think he's maybe like an 82. Okay, Anthony Simons at 81 is way too low. All right, so, you know, I'm already seeing a lot of 81s that I kind of disagree with. Anthony Simons should be at least an 83 overall. You know, he's a dynamic offensive scorer, like, you know, one of the better perimeter guys in the league as far as shooting goes, you know, shooting off the dribble and stuff like that. So Anthony Simons, way too low for me. Mike Conley, 81. You know, I'm not so sure, like, him and Chris Paul are on the same tier of player as a guy like Anthony Simons or, you know, Klay Thompson. They just add a lot more than I think those guys do at this point, but at the end of the day, they're both good players. So, you know, I just think they're a little bit too high. Now we're moving on to the 80 to 71, and holy cow, this caps out at 82, and I'm already seeing Darius Garland at an 82 overall. All right, let me strap in for this one, folks. It's gonna be wild. All right, so Emmanuel Quickly comes in at 80 at the rank, and he's 81 overall for the Raptors. I think that's fair. Another player that's gonna have a breakout year for me. By the end of the season, he'll be at least an 83, 84. This guy's an absolute problem. Cam Thomas and Kobe White, couple breakout players last season, you know, 20 point per game scorers. I think they're both kind of fair in an 81. I might have Kobe White a little bit higher, maybe like an 82, but I think that's kind of fair. Jonas Valanciunas. Wow, okay, so we're gonna say Jonas Valanciunas is a better center than Nick Claxton and Nick Vucevic. I'm not so sure about that, man. I think that's a little bit crazy for me personally. You know, 82 is a little bit high if you're gonna say, you know, the other guys are lower. You know, I do think Valanciunas is a really good center, above average, but I just don't think that, you know, 82 is necessarily the right spot for him at rank 77 here. Zubac, 76 rank. He's gonna be 82 overall. I think that's totally warranted. He had a great year last year. He's one of the better, you know, roll men in the league. Good rim protect. I like Zubac a lot. I think that's a fair rating there. But Darius Garland, man, what are we doing, 2K? Come on, man. Darius Garland is just way better than 82. You know, I would have him maybe somewhere towards like 85. Even if you wanted to go crazy and say he's an 86, I could hear a case. Like 82 is just crazy for me. Like, he's got to be way, way, way higher on this list. 2K, come on, what are we doing here? Probably the biggest problem I've had so far on this list is Darius Garland being 82 overall. Jeremy Grant, an 82. I think that's kind of fair. Herb Jones, 82. Maybe you say Herb Jones is a little bit, you know, below someone like Jeremy Grant or some of these other guys. I like Herb Jones, one of my favorite, you know, two-way 3-and-D guys, but I just think Herb Jones, you know, obviously one of the best defenders in the league. You could make a case the best perimeter defender. I just think, you know, I don't know about 82, man. I think that's a just a little bit too high. It should certainly be an 80 overall, you know, no question for me, but 82 is a little bit crazy to say he's, you know, a similar player to Darius Garland. Jalen Suggs, 82, great rating here. I think, you know, Jalen Suggs, one of the unsung heroes in the Eastern Conference as a whole. He's a great role player for the Magic, you know, one of the best, you know, guard role players and perimeter defenders in the league at that guard position. You know, another all-NBA defense caliber guy. Alex Caruso, another all-NBA defense caliber guy. Alex Caruso is going to have a big time impact on the Thunder, and I think 82 is a great rating for him. Now, as far as 70 to 61, we already have Josh Hart at an 82. Now, let's be honest, against the Sixers in that first round series, Josh Hart should be a 90 overall, but yeah, I think it balances out to 82. He's, again, an S-tier role player for me in this league. I think 82s, if we're going to say Darius Garland's an 82, then I think it's high, but if we're just, you know, going off pure optics, right, like just the way it looks, I think it's fine. I think Josh Hart's a great role player, one of the best in the league. DeAndre Ayton at an 83. I mean, this is where it gets like, I don't know, man, is DeAndre Ayton better than Nick Vucevic and Nick Claxton? Like, I just don't think so. You know, I don't think so. I think he should be, you know, above an 80, but just 83 is a little high. You know, Desmond Bane, 83, I think that's kind of fair. Maybe you could say he's an 84. 84. I'm trying to be generous to a lot of these guys. Michael Porter Jr. at an 83. I think that's good for me. Kuzma 83. I think maybe you could say he's an 84. Draymond Green 83. That's fine for me. Hero 83. That's, this set of rankings is a little bit better for me. Zach LaVine at an 83. That's way too low. I mean, to be fair, I'm pretty low on Zach LaVine, at this point in his career as well, but I think we have to give him the benefit of the doubt and call him an 84, 85, because when he's healthy and locked in and, he's playing his best, he's somewhere above an 85, like no question. You could make a case at his best, he's towards like the 88 range. And so I think, this is a little bit low for Zach LaVine. Miles Turner, 84, fine. I think he is an 84, but I just think the fact that they rank some of these other centers so low just kind of turns me off to some of these center picks like Ayton and Turner. I like both the players, but I'm just saying, it's a little weird for me. Aaron Gordon, perfectly deserved 84. I think maybe you could even make a case he's higher. You certainly can't make a case he's lower, in my opinion. And now let's move on to the 60 to 51 range, where we're getting into the 85 territory. This is where it gets serious, folks. And so we have at number 60, CJ McCollum at an 84 overall. Another fair ranking for me. CJ had a great season last year, and I think he, is well deserved at this 84 overall. Jared Allen, another guy that, is super underrated. I think he's certainly an 84 overall. James Harden is low for me, personally. I'm not a James Harden fan. I'm a Sixers fan, and so you can probably put 2 and 2 together there if you're new to the channel. Listen, James Harden's just a better player than 84. He's just capable of things that not a lot of other players on this list are, including taking over a game single-handedly. He performed well in the playoffs last year, so I don't think you can make that argument against him at this point, at this current point in time at where we sit now. But James Harden is just, one of the more dynamic playmakers of all time. He's one of the greatest perimeter scorers of all time. I know his production was lower last year just because of the role he was in, but he's just better than 84. I'd have him somewhere around an 86, 87, something like that. Freddie VanVleet, 84, that's fine for me. Jalen Green, 84, I think that's fine. I could see people making a case either way that should be higher or lower. I've seen people say it should be higher. I've seen people say it should be lower. I personally think he's more of an 82, 83. If we're going to say Darius Garland, DG is an 82. I think we have to say Jalen Green's an 82. OG Anunoby and Mikal Bridges, two New York Knicks two-way dynamic forwards coming at 84s. I think that's kind of fair. Maybe you could say they should be at 85s. Are we going to say that Chris Middleton's a better player than, Bridges and Anunoby? I'm not so sure at this point. I think Chris Middleton had a revitalization, playoff run last year. He performed very well in the playoffs, and honestly, he's one of the reasons I think the Bucks get a ton better next year. He's just going to play better. But Bridges and Anunoby, two of the most dynamic two-way wings, I think they got to be a little bit higher than Chris Middleton, even though I'm high on Chris Middleton, higher than most. Bradley Beal at 85, I think, you could go either way with this one. You could say 83, you could say, 86. I think 85 is kind of reasonable. When he was healthy last year, he played very well. And so I have to, I think that's all right. I see people hating on this one. Rudy Gobert, another super hated on player. I think 85 is totally fair for him. I think you could even make a case he should be a little bit higher, like 86. But I think him and Jared Allen, I think that's kind of, if he's going to be better than, I think that's fair. 85 is fair for me, no question. 50 to 41. This is where we're getting into like star caliber territory here, folks, in terms of ratings throughout 2K history. Once you pass an 85, it's generally accepted that you got like kind of a star player on your hands here. And so we're going to start with Alperen Sengun. Certainly a star. 85 is totally fair for me. You can make a case for 86, honestly. Brandon Ingram, 85. I think that's another fair one for me. Julius Randle, another good ranking here. Scotty Barnes, I think should be a little bit higher, maybe an 86, 87, something like that. I think he, certainly one of the more versatile players in the league. I'm super high on him. Another breakout guy for me next season. Evan Mobley, 86. Yeah, I just don't know about that one, man. I'm going to be honest. Obviously, a DPOY candidate, every year. But we're going to say confidently that he's better than Sengun. Are we going to say confident that he's better than even Jared Allen by 2 points? I just don't know about that. I think Evan Mobley is a great player. I think he should be somewhere around 84. I think that's a little bit high for me. DeJounte Murray, 86 overall. No problems with this here. He's a great player. Derek White, 86. No problem with this here. One of the most integral pieces to a championship team last season. All right. So, probably that's actually a great rating for me. I'm going to be honest with you guys. Obviously, the Celtics are going to be rated a little bit higher. They have the cover athlete. They have the championship ring last season. So some of these players might be a tick above where you'd expect them, but I have no problem with Derek White being a top 50 player at 86 overall. Franz Wagner at 86. This makes sense to me. Jalen Williams, J-Dub, 86. Another one that makes sense to me. Cade Cunningham, 86. Maybe a little bit too high. I'd say 85. Really no issues there. Larry Markkinen, 86. I think he's more of an 87 type of player, but that's fine. Nothing too crazy. Triple J, 87. Yeah, I mean, I guess. I don't hate the rating, but I also think they've just been super disrespectful to other big men on this list. And so maybe I think he's more of an 85 type of player at this point, but you know, nothing too crazy there. Jamal Murray, 87. I think that's a little low personally, but my ranking would probably be 88 or 89. So, you know, actually, no, you know, you could say Jamal Murray's a 90 if you really wanted to. I know he had a bad playoff performance. You know, he had a bad matchup. He was coming off an injury. So, you know, I guess 87 is just low for me personally. Chris Stops, KP 87. That's a good ranking there. Holmgren 87. Yeah, I think you should be maybe just a little bit lower. 85, kind of the same ranking around where Triple J would be. 85, 86. I don't know, man. I think Holmgren, yeah, I guess it's fine. I'm not too mad about it. DeMar DeRozan should be a little bit higher. 88, maybe, you know, 80. Actually, no, 87's kind of okay for me, now that I think about it. Drew Holiday, 87. No issues there. LaMelo's a little high for me, 87. Yeah, I think he could realistically be an 85 at this point. I know the ability is kind of what, you know, 2K rates on. They don't necessarily rank on like performances. For example, they're not going to rank like Jimmy Butler, you know, a 95 just because he has the playoff Jimmy when he activates that. So I think it's kind of a balance, and I think it's more of like overall ability. And so I'm not too mad about, you know, LaMelo being an 87. I just think if you're, you know, considering all things like NBA knowledge that we kind of do on this channel, I think you should be a little bit lower personally, 85 or so. Certainly has the talent to be an 87. You know, all these guys are very talented. We're getting into the 88s, man. We're close to the 90s, folks. It's crazy. 32 rank. We have Karl Anthony Towns Cat at an 88. You know, I think that's a good ranking there. Pascal Siakam 88. Another good ranking for me. I have no issues with those two. So yeah, I think Chet and Triple J maybe a little bit lower. Jamal Murray a little bit higher. Larry Markkinen a little bit higher. Nothing too crazy there though. Now we're getting into the 30 of the 21, and I see Paul George, my newly acquired 76er star, at the 30 to 21 picture. Love to see it, folks. Zion Williamson coming in at 30. We're getting into the top 30 here, folks. Zion's an 88. You know, I think that's fair. By the end of the season, if we see Zion have a big, you know, transformation we've already seen with his body, he could be a 95 by the end of the season. Like, he's that talented. You know, certainly could be a 93 or, you know, 90 plus by the end of the season. Sabonis 88. That's fine. That's fair to me. I think, you know, maybe you could make a case him and Fox should be a little bit higher. They're both 88s, but really no issue. Bam Adebayo comes in at an 88. And I think Bam should be a little bit higher. I think Bam's more of a 90 or an 89. I think, you know, it's not too much of a discrepancy here, but I just think he's a little bit better than an 88 personally, you know? Ooh, I already see two Sixers. So Tyrese Maxey comes in at an 89 overall. You know, all things considered, I can't be too mad about that. I'm obviously going to be biased in this regard, but I think Tyrese, maybe you can make a case he's a 90. That's probably what I would do, but I think 89, all things considered, is a little bit fair when you're looking at some of these other guards ahead of him here. Trae Young, 89. I think that's fair. I really do. Paul George, 89. Another fair ranking. I think that's, you know, very easy to say that he's an 89. I do think Maxey, now that I think about it, yeah, I think Maxey should be a 90, but I think PG and Maxey being 89s is fine with me for the most part. Paolo Banchero, 89. You know, nothing, no complaints for me. You know, maybe we'll have to see what, you know, some of these other players ahead of him look like, but I can't be too upset about it. You know, one thing to note here also is that these rankings, a lot of these players have the same overall, so a lot of people are going to say, oh, you know, Paolo Banchero ahead of Paul George, Tyrese Maxey, but if you really look at it, like Paul George and Maxey are both 89s, Paulo's also an 89, so it's not really like he's ranked ahead of him. It's just that it's the same rating. So keep that in mind when you're going through these ratings here and you're, you know, finding things you don't like. Jimmy Butler, an 89, you know, kind of fair. I think you should be a little bit higher, maybe like a 90. I'm pretty high on Jimmy, a lot higher than most people are. Damian Lillard, an 89. I think maybe he should be a little bit lower, but, you know, I can't really complain too much. We're going to say, you know, De'Aaron Fox is an 88. I think maybe Lillard should be an 88 as well. We're going to say Maxey's an 89. I think, you know, you bump De'Aaron Fox up a little bit. So now we're about to break into the top 20, folks. I just want to, you know, get a couple thoughts out. So for one, follow my Twitch. I'm going to say that throughout the video. For the second thing, I just think, you know, overall, I'm not too upset with a lot of these rankings. There's like a couple that I'm like really upset with, like Darius Garland, like some of the centers in the, you know, first part of the video, the 191 kind of thing. But at the end of the day, you know, nothing has been like super out of control crazy. And I think like Claxton, Vucevic, they should be way higher. Evan Mobley's a little bit too high, like a lot too high. I think he should be more of like an 84. As far as like, you know, the craziest ones so far, I think we can pinpoint Darius Garland being an 82. I think that's obviously, you know, one of the ones I have the biggest issue with. I think Chet Holmgren, Triple J are a little bit too high for me personally. They're both 87s. I think they should both be 85s. As far as like some of these other guys here, you know, Jalen Green, I think should be a little bit lower. Bridges and Anunoby should be a little bit higher. DeAndre Ayton and Miles Turner, you know, both being 83 and 84 respectively. You know, I just think the center rankings overall overall are pretty bad, but other than the center rankings, I can't be too mad at much things. I think Darius Garland's way too low. That's my biggest gripe so far, and the centers mostly. So Ja Morant breaks the top 20 at a 90 overall. That's totally fair. I think he has to come back and prove a lot of people wrong next season. And again, this is another guy that by the end of the season could be a 93, 94 overall, move his way back into like the top 10 or top 15. I think that's totally possible, but I think him and Halliburton being both 90s is fair. I think, they're two premier point guards in the league. And now we got Wemby at 91 overall at the 18th overall player. I just think 2K is going to put points into like abilities, right? So technically Wemby has all of the abilities to be a 91 overall, but is he a 91 overall? I think it's just a little bit unfair to say he's above some of these guys that are so proven, like Bam Adebayo, like Jimmy Butler, like some of these guys, especially Bam Adebayo. He's way too low. I think you could swap Wemby and Bam realistically and feel pretty okay about it, but I think Wemby, again, I don't have an issue with him being 91, but I think if I'm being consistent with the list, I think I would probably have an issue with it because again, it's just, again, I think Wemby is a 91 overall. I think that's fine. I'm just trying to make consistency and make sense out of this list. So, it's not the end of the world, but Kawhi Leonard comes in at a 92. We're getting into the 92s, folks. This is a good rating for Kawhi. I think that's fair. Kyrie Irving, 16th overall. He's going to have a 92. A lot of 92s here. Kyrie at a 92. I think that's okay. I think Halliburton and Morant being I actually think Kyrie could be like a 91, but 92 is okay for me. Jaylen Brown comes in, Finals MVP, 15th overall, breaks the top 15 at a 92, and no problems with this. He's certainly capable. As I mentioned, the Celtics are just going to get a little bit more favoritism and love, as they should, because of the Finals champ, and they have the cover athlete. So I don't have an issue with this personally. I think Jaylen Brown should be a 92. Mitchell 92, Donovan Mitchell, yeah, that's fair, totally fair. We're into the top 14 here. I think Jalen Brunson at 93, that's a little low for me. He's a top 5 point guard in the league. He's actually in my top 15 players. I could hear a case that he's top 10. Honestly, he was one of the MVP. He got MVP votes last year, as he should have. Such an efficient player at the position. His ability to manage a game is second to none. I just think that's a little bit low if we're gonna say Brunson's in the 93, but actually at 13th overall, I don't hate it because, as I mentioned, he's top 15 for me. This is actually similar to what my top 15 would look at it now that I'm looking at it again. So I actually think that's kind of fair. Him being on the same rating as Devin Booker and Anthony Edwards, I think Devin Booker should maybe be a 94. He's another super underrated player to me, but 93 is okay. Brunson and Booker should both be maybe a 94, but I'm okay with 93 at the end of the day. Anthony Edwards at a 93 is totally fair for me. And now it's where it counts, folks. Getting into the top 10. I've heard nothing but awful things about this top 10, so let's get into it, folks. And starting with the 10th overall player, Anthony Davis. All right, 94 overall, the first 94. So Anthony Davis at a 94 is totally fine. Another guy that's top 15 for me. Top 10, I think he's towards the bottom of the top 10 or high end of the top 15. So I'd probably have him at like anywhere from like 12 to 10. I think that's fair. 94 overall seems fine to me for Anthony Davis. Kevin Durant, 9th overall at a 94. KD had a spectacular season, a super underrated season. All things considered, obviously KD, one of the premier players in the league, first ballot Hall of Famer. So you think underrated wouldn't be a word you'd ascribe to him, but I do think his season was super great last year, on both ends. And I think 94 is totally fair at 9th overall for KD, certainly in my top 10. And then Jason Tatum comes in at 8th overall at a 95. All right, so this is interesting because now we're moving up a level here. And so when you get into the 90s and the late 80s in 2K, every rating point matters a ton. Like, it's a big difference between 94 and 95. And so if we're gonna say KD and AD are a 94, I think Tatum being a 95, I could hear a case for it. I'm not against it. Like, he is in my top 10. He's 8th here. I think 8th is a fine place to put him. As far as him being a tick better than KD, I'm not so sure about that, but I think Tatum 95, again, he's a cover athlete. He's going to get a little bit more love, but at the end of the day, this isn't a bad ranking. I don't think it's a bad ranking having him at 95 and an 8th overall player. I would have him somewhere close to 8, on my list. So it's nothing crazy here. Steph Curry, another 95 at 7th overall, certainly in my top 10. Maybe just below some of these other guys, like Steph Curry at 7, I think is totally fair. 95 is fair for me. LeBron, another 95. So this is the 95s. I think it's going to be Tatum, Curry, and LeBron. Yeah, I think I don't have any problem with this. If we're going to say Tatum's on the same tier as Curry and LeBron, I think I would probably have Curry and LeBron, maybe a little bit higher than Tatum. But at the end of the day, I'm not mad at it. Like, I don't think it's crazy to say that, that they're on the same level as him. LeBron at 95, you know, I kind of don't really have an issue with this. Maybe you could say he's a 96. 6 overall is kind of okay for me. I think maybe you could say he's 5th overall. I personally have him at, yeah, probably 6 or 7. Like, it's actually kind of cool because my top 5 players in the world right now, at least in the NBA, are, you know, not named yet. So it looks like 2K has the same top 5 as me. We'll have to see about the placement, but, you know, I think at the end of the day, it's going to be very similar here. And we have Joel Embiid coming in at number 5 overall. The process himself, you know, he is the first 96. And so I think there's probably going to be a couple here if we're following the trend. Joel Embiid, 96, no issues here. He's certainly in my top 5. I'm not even being biased as a Sixers fan. I just, you know, I don't look at things generally super biased on this channel. At least I try not to. You guys can let me know if you think I do that, but I really try to take my biases out of it when I make these videos and really critically analyze the NBA and their players and stuff like that. So I think Joel at a, you know, 5th overall and a 96 overall is totally fair. You know, I actually think he's probably my 4th best player, but, you know, if you want to say he's 5th, I have no issues with that. I actually think there might even be a better case. I have to reevaluate my top 5 or top 10 or whatever, but, you know, he's in my top 5. 96 is fair. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, you know, another guy in my top 5. This is exactly my top 5 here, so I can't really be too mad. Another 96 overall SGA, certainly a top 5 player. I don't know that you could dispute that at this point. You know, 96 is totally fair for him. And now we're in the top 3, folks. So we had basically in the top 10, we have 294s, 395s, and 296s, and, you know, now we're at 97, which is the Greek Freak Giannis Antetokounmpo being the 3rd overall ranked player at a 97 overall. So it'd be interesting to see if Luka and Jokic, who are going to be, you know, 1 and 2, have 98s, if any of them have 98s. I would personally hope that Jokic would have a 98 because, you know, for me, he's the best player in the world, and I think he has separated himself from guys like Giannis and Luka, who are my 2 and 3 in no particular order. I probably have Giannis at the, you know, 2nd best player and then Luka 3rd. You can make a case for either one. I think that is the top 3 pretty consistently for me, no question. I think, you know, it's pretty consensus for me who's in the top 3. So Giannis being 97, I have no issues with this as long as Jokic is like a 98 or a 99. But I think, you know, this is fair for me. Okay, Luka number 2, 97 overall. So yeah, Luka and Giannis being 97s both make sense because they're the only 2 97s so far, so they are on the same tier as far as 2K is concerned. As long as Jokic is an 98, I'm okay with this because, again, I do think this is fair. I put Luka and Giannis on the same tier of 2 and 3. I think they're kind of interchangeable there. There's not much separation between them, but Jokic, oh, okay. Oh, wow. Okay. All right. So I take everything back. We do have Jokic at a 97. This is really bad. All right. So we're really going to sit here and say that Jokic hasn't separated himself from Giannis and Luka. Again, I know he's ranked number 1, but they're all 97. So is he really ranked 1? Like, I don't know how that works in 2K's mind, but look, the fact that he's ranked 1, I guess we should give credit to 2K there. I don't know that they really deserve it for that, but at the end of the day, Jokic should be 1 tick higher than the rest of the 2 guys, which is Luka and Giannis. The fact that they're all 97s doesn't make a ton of sense to me. I like the top 10. You know, it's actually very similar to my top 10. The top 5 is exactly the same. For the most part, I'd switch Embiid and SGA, but other than that, honestly, I believe in their case that SGA is better than Joel Embiid. So they're kind of interchangeable there. Same way with Giannis and Luka. So it's 3 tiers for me in the top 5. It's Embiid and SGA in you know, the first tier, right? So it'll be like the B tier of the top 5, and, you know, they're interchangeable there. You could make a case for either one. In the A tier, I have Giannis and Luka. You could make a case for either one, and then S tier is Jokic. Like, there's just no question he's better than all of them. And so him being a 97, you know, same as the other A tier guys, like, I just don't think that makes a ton of sense for me. I'd have Jokic at an 98 or 99. Whatever happened to just rating the best player in the world at a 99? Why is that such a weird thing nowadays? I don't get it. Jokic should be either a 99 or a 98. You know, that's my biggest gripe with the list so far. You know, again, there was some, you know, things. Let me know down in the comment section if you agree with some of my takes. You know, who do you think has the worst rating out of anyone, whether it's way too high or way too low? All right, so please let me know your thoughts. You know, again, follow my Twitch. We're going to be live pretty consistently with 2K over there. So, you know, again, if you don't care about 2K, that's fine. You know, you don't have to watch this video. You already watched to the end, which is crazy to me. But if you truly don't care, you know, no sweat. You know, you could do whatever you want. But if you do care about 2K and, you know, you watch all the way to the end, I would imagine you care about 2K, or you just, you know, like my channel or whatever. Make sure you guys follow my Twitch. Links down in the description. Turn on notifications for Twitch as well. We are going to be streaming that very hard coming up here. I already have it downloaded, and I'm literally about to stream as I end this recording. So there's a good chance by the time this video comes out, I already did the stream, but there will be more streams to come probably in a few days. So, you know, probably like 2 or 3, maybe like 1 to 3 streams a a week, I would say, pretty consistently for 2K. Make sure you guys follow my Twitch, subscribe to this channel. If you guys are new, you know, make sure you guys do that. I know some of you guys are new watching right now. Thank you guys for watching all the way to the end. Again, let me know your feedback on my, you know, my analysis of the list. I thought it was important to do this because whether or not you care about 2K or not, a lot of people do ascribe these rankings a lot of value. And so if we're going to be already doing that, why not try to, you know, correct some of these rankings, you know, in our form of consensus around it. So please, again, let me know down in the comment section. Leave a like on the video. Really helps out the video, helps new people find the video. Follow my Twitch, follow my Twitter, subscribe to the channel. I will catch you guys in the next one. Back to NBA content tomorrow. All things NBA every day. If you want to see content like this, go to my Twitch. If you want to see content live, go to my Twitch. If you want to see, you know, more just NBA videos with critical analysis, you know, very in-depth stuff, subscribe to the channel every day. All things NBA. I will catch you guys in the next one. This is your boy D-Have, and as always, peace.